The last 24 hours have been very telling, as more and more reviews and reactions start to roll in for Joker 2. And more people are asking the question, what the happened? Many people seem to be pointing the finger squarely at Todd Phillips, with some speculating that he actively sought to sabotage his own creation. Whether that be because he didn't want to make the sequel in the first place, or he just wanted to make it so bad that they never asked him to do a third film, or is it possible that Todd Phillips held some kind of resentment towards fans of the original film for quote-unquote misunderstanding the meaning of it? I've heard all three of these excuses thrown around on social media over the past couple of days, and honestly, any one of them could be believable. Here's what I do know: I cannot wait for some time to go by, and eventually the real story about what happened behind the scenes of Joker 2 is made public. Something is not right about this entire situation, and I do believe that fans are owed an explanation. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So I rewatched Joker 2019 again prior to making this video, just so I was sure that I could fully explain myself. Honestly, I didn't need to rewatch it because all the rewatch really did was confirm what I already know. That being that the original film is perfect in my eyes. Yes, even now, after all of this bullshit with the sequel. The other thing that it confirmed, however, is that the misguided sequel that we just got does everything in its power to tear down what the original film built, and it is very intentional. I'm convinced now more than ever that this character was intentionally sabotaged, and now I'm going to explain to you why. Full Joker 2 spoilers ahead for anyone who gives a shit. In order for you to understand just how badly Todd Phillips fumbled with Joker 2, I have to take you back to Joker 2019 for a moment and remind you all of how that film ended. Joker 2019 masterfully depicts a mentally ill loner who has experienced unspeakable pain and suffering in his life. And he gets fed up with the way that society and the people around him are treating him. And this forces him to create this alter ego of sorts, or as I refer to it, he unlocks his true self in the form of the Joker. A persona that allows him to be more comfortable in his own skin. He gains confidence with every subsequent murder he commits. And this all culminates with him being celebrated by an angry mob of citizens who take inspiration from him and his actions because they too want to fight back against the system that is holding them down. Basically, Arthur finally gets the love and admiration he always wanted as the Joker, even if it's for all the wrong reasons. Now, maybe Todd Phillips doesn't agree with that assessment, but that's the wonderful thing about movies. Most of the time, they are up for interpretation.
That makes sense.
Fast forward to 2024, and we get a sequel to that film that a lot of people rightfully recognized as unnecessary. Some say that it's a cash grab, a lazy attempt by WB to capitalize on one of their only recent success stories. And I can definitely buy into that notion, but the more that I think about it, I think the problems with Joker 2 run much deeper than that. As I stated in my review, my biggest problem with this movie is not the fact that it was made, or how it was made, it's how the character of Arthur Fleck, the Joker, is portrayed in the third act of this film, where his character truly regresses in the most unnatural way and basically makes the events of Joker 2019 meaningless.
Why do these things always happen to me?
It all started for me when we see something in Joker change, and what was ironically one of the better scenes in the movie. It happens when the character of Gary returns to testify against Arthur, and lays out this whole scenario where Arthur basically ruined his life when he killed someone brutally in front of him. It's a well-acted scene, don't get me wrong, but Joker's reaction to it is not consistent with what we know about him at all. I truly believe that the Joker we know from the end of the 2019 film would not be fazed by this in the slightest. The sequel wants you to believe that he would be, because it's convenient for the story they are desperately trying to tell, but it is not consistent with what has already been established about the character.
I don't get it.
Nevertheless, the movie proceeds, and we eventually get to the closing argument segment of the trial. And much to everyone's surprise, despite the support of his new love interest, and the angry mob of individuals outside the courtroom, for some random reason, Arthur essentially breaks character, and the sequel wants you to believe that the Joker character established in the first film is nothing more than an act. It insinuates that Arthur is Arthur. Essentially, there is no Joker. He's just a crazy person who killed people. The persona is nothing more than a facade. Now, if that doesn't come off as a slap in the face to the people who love the original film, I don't know what will. What happened at the end of Joker 2019? Arthur had completely transformed and embraced his true self, that being the Joker. That's the whole point of the movie, in my opinion. So what is basically happening in the sequel is that they are going to undo all of that, presumably because you didn't know what direction to take this character in, or because you didn't like how people responded to him in the first film.
Me, right?
This is the most obvious example of a intentional character assassination that I've ever seen in a film. I mean, sure, Todd Phillips doesn't have a great track record when it comes to making sequels to his more successful films. But even when I was watching The Hangover 2, he didn't turn Alan into a completely different person just to piss people off. There was a character consistency in those movies, even if there wasn't a quality consistency. I just don't see a situation where you can have this drastic of a drop in quality without some f***ery going on. Oh, but it didn't stop there, because after Arthur bitches out and reverts back to being a nobody, he then escapes captivity and goes to visit this film's version of Harley Quinn, who now wants nothing to do with him because she is in love with Joker, not Arthur. This, of course, crushes Arthur even further, another person turning their back on him. I get it, he's a tragic figure, but he should be way beyond this point in his story. At this point, he should be a fully realized Joker. He should be deciding who's going to get close to him and who is not. He should be calling the shots. He is the one who has all the power at the end of the first movie. And they basically gave Harley his spot in the sequel without having her earn it.
Something very familiar about all this.
So basically what this came down to is you shitting on the character of Arthur once again for nothing, but it didn't stop there. Because at the very end of this movie, we have a nobody Arthur back in Arkham, getting stabbed by a maniacally laughing patient who insinuates that he is an admirer who is disappointed in Arthur for not living up to the Joker moniker he created. This person then cuts a smile into his face off screen as Arthur bleeds out next to him. So that's how Arthur's story ends. A nobody dead in prison with someone else ready to pick up his mantle and be the quote-unquote real Joker. Words can't express how disrespectful that ending came off. It was like bad fan fiction, written by a salty Joker fan who is trying to explain away the existence of Todd Phillips' version of the character. Only it was actually facilitated by Todd Phillips himself. I foolishly placed a lot of faith in Todd Phillips over the last couple of years because of my love of the first film. I allowed my fandom to get in the way of my better judgment, and I can never let that happen again. Of course, someone in Hollywood would be more than willing to disrespect their own fan base, even if that fan base is exactly what pushed the original film to hit $1 billion. But that doesn't matter to these people. You see, the message is much more important.
Message!
It's entirely possible that Todd Phillips is no better than the trolls on social media who were ironically bashing the first film and anyone who liked it, calling them an incel. No one misinterpreted your movie, Todd. Most of us just took the movie for what it is a unique reinterpretation of an iconic villain. It's not as if we are idolizing the character, we just found his story to be compelling. If Todd Phillips did in fact sabotage his own vision to get back at fans, as some are suggesting, all he really did was hurt himself and his own legacy by doing so.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Todd Phillips had all the juice after the first Joker movie, and it's entirely possible that he pissed it all away over pettiness. If you didn't want to do the movie, then you shouldn't have done the movie. At least then, the legacy would be at least somewhat intact. Now all you've done is prove some of your biggest critics right. And you've made the people who supported you look like fools. You sacrificed your vision for money and moral superiority, and that is unforgivable. At this point, I feel like taking back every good thing I ever said about Todd Phillips. Because if this is true, he is clearly not the creative that I thought he was. Even if we do come to find out at some point that Warner Brothers was behind all of this, which is entirely possible, the fact of the matter is, Todd Phillips still let it happen. Arthur Fleck, the Joker as a character, deserved much better than this. The fans of the Joker deserve much better than this.
Y'all be cool. Nah.